I can show you one quick thing here for selections. Now this applies to groups and many of the other dialogues, and including the deletions dialog here. When you want to select something, you can select one item. Now I could click on every one of these beams along the length that I want to delete, or I can click on one of them, and then when you right click on that property, and you can just have one selected, or you can have several of them selected, and it'll do this operation on all of them. But this add by seed is extremely useful. Now you can add by property, and it'll grab everything in the model that has that same property as the current one selected. You can go by material, stiffener layout, type, but if I do type, it'll grab all of the beams, although it should only grab the additional beams. I don't think the girders and frames will be affected. But the most common one is probably this add by seed, and it's very useful. If I don't set limits on it, it'll grab everything until it hits the end of the beam. So it grabbed everything in there, and now I have all of these bar items, and I can simply delete that beam. If I wanted to grab some plate elements, now I had full strake selected, so it grabbed everything there. I'm going to return that to the model and uncheck that, so I'm only grabbing individual quads. If I just grab this one quad, and if I say add by seed, it's going to find all the planar similar quads within a certain angular tolerance, and I think it's about a 20-degree difference. I think what shows up is 160. I'm going to close this and not delete the elements and hit refresh so they come back. Another newer feature in here is to select one, and you can do add by seed advanced. And what this allows you to do is to set some limits on where you want to do the selection. And this is incredibly handy when you are trying to assign properties, because if you're looking at a very large deck with a lot of elements on it, and you have different regions that are going to be assigned different plate thicknesses, if you just do add by seed, it's going to select the entire deck. And previously, I guess it was modified when this add by seed advanced was added. That's when this angle between elements was moved to this dialog. Previously, that was available in the original just add by seed. So now add by seed is going to go throughout the entire extents. Add by seed advanced allows you to place limits in the X, Y, and Z directions. So if you need to click in this area. If I didn't click in this dialog, when I clicked in the model, it would think I'm still trying to add to the deletions dialog, and it would have added an element. Since I've clicked the cursor up in here, it's going to grab the XYZ value of wherever I click in the model. And then if I click again, it's going to add XYZ values for the other end. And I'll put that here. Now, right now, it's going to limit in a sort of a cube volume any associated plate elements that meet that angle criteria, and it's going to search through that volume, but not go beyond that volume. Now I can limit it, and I can say, go ahead and just do the X direction, and that way it will go the full width of the model with no limits. It's only going to limit between this X value and that X value, and you'll see that they're actually reversed here. The minimum value is higher than the maximum value, but Maestro will sort them out. You just have to grab opposite corners, and Maestro will figure the minimum and maximum. And if I say add, you'll see it grabbed all of those elements with the add by seed, but it limited in the X direction. And this is really handy for grabbing regions of plate, because I happen to do this in the deletions dialog, but more typically you would do this in the groups dialog, and I would grab a number of elements in here. I would grab some region using that feature, and then use the modify properties so that I could change the plate thickness there. Now, when we built this, because we built this from within Maestro, we had properties defined when we built all of these strakes and beams and everything. We created them first, and then as we built each one of these things, it had a property associated with it. So if we go to view the model, we can view by beam property, and you can see the two different types of beams that were used. We can query them and see what those beams are. Likewise, we can look at our plating. Now, we only use the 5mm AH36, but there were other options available. Now that we're in this dialog, we could use the dynamic query and actually change that to put some 12 millimeter at the end here. I think I missed that one. I made that 8. So, and likewise with the groups dialog, as a quick example, I'll grab one element here, do the add by seat advanced, and we'll use that point to that point, those two X values, add them, and then we'll modify properties and make that plate. Let's make it 8 millimeter. Now, those quads belong to a strake, and we can't change those individually. You have to change the whole strake. So because there was a strake element in there, Maestro prompts you with this question. You know, you're going to change the entire strake compound. Do you want to continue? So if I say yes, it will, even though I only had those selected, it had to change the entire strake.